This is Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where each week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be speaking with BullBossJosh and Edger9000 of Pearl Industry Network. We've got an events section on our website. You can find out about all the events in our industry and get discounts on some events. We have discounts for the AW Summit in Bucharest, September 21st through the 23rd, and the TES Affiliate Conference in Prague, September 25th through the 28th. I'll be attending both shows. Hope to see you there. You'll find all that and more on our website at adultsitebroker.com. We're proud to announce our latest project, thewaronporn.com. You'll find articles on age verification laws and other attacks on our industry. It's to raise awareness of our industry's plight in the war on porn. Go to thewaronporn.com for more. And we're always looking for buyers and sellers of adult sites and companies. Perhaps you've been thinking about either selling your site or buying one. Always feel free to contact us at adultsitebroker.com with any questions you may have. Now time for our properties for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to offer one of the most established AI-generated adult cartoon pages on Patreon, with over 530 paying members. There's a website as well. They have over 300 characters, 80,000 images, and 30 hours of video content already produced. The Patreon page has organic, loyal members with an 80% monthly retention rate. 90% of the traffic is from the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. We have a successful OnlyFans agency. The agency has 15 creators with 90% of them on salary, so the agency is highly profitable. They handle all aspects of marketing for the creators, including chatting and promotion. The business has developed a suite of custom-built internal tools that represent significant intellectual property and competitive infrastructure. They use a proprietary analytics KPI and sales verification dashboard with link tracking, ad performance data, sales verification, and payout automation. All tools are built entirely in-house. This technology is a great asset for the buyer to own. We have a rapidly growing SaaS-powered OnlyFans chat agency with strong SEO. The company has over 30 clients with very little churn, ranging from $10,000 to over $80,000 a month. The company continues to grow and innovate. New technical features include an enhanced chatter portal, a new creator billing dashboard with daily billing, and an automatic blog system to grow SEO. The company's set up with very little upkeep needed by the owners. It's a cash cow that's still growing fast. We have the largest foot fetish creator site in the German-speaking market. The site is a leading niche platform that's been the #1 brand in the market for over 3 years. The site is a highly profitable business with consistent revenue, an established SEO footprint, and strong brand authority in its niche. We're offering a growing free porn gaming site with adult sex games. The site is owned by one of the top entrepreneurs in our industry. There were more properties for sale on our website. For more information on any of these listings, go to our listings page or contact us at adultsitebroker.com. Now time for this week's interview. My guests today on Adult Site Broker Talk are Josh BullBoss and Edger9000. I'm not going to screw that name up today. Edger, thanks for being with us on Adult Site Broker Talk. And Josh, great to have you back.
Thanks for having us back, Bruce.
Thanks for the invite.
It's great to have you guys. Now, Josh BullBoss is a multi-adult industry award nominee, co-founder and CVO of Pearl Industry Network, or PIN, a creator-focused network that connects content creators, brands, photographers, event organizers, and industry professionals across North America. Through PIN, Josh works to create new opportunities for collaboration, education, promotion, and business growth within the creator economy, with a focus on building professional relationships and helping creators expand their reach. He's developed a platform that brings together talent and industry resources under one network, helping members grow their brands and create lasting business connections. Edger9000 is a creator, photographer, geek, and lifelong advocate with deep roots in the adult creator community. Edger co-founded PIN out of a clear and urgent need for safer spaces, fairer treatment, and real professional respect. His experience behind the camera also exposed him to the darker side of the photography world, where exploitation and predatory behavior are far too common. In no other industry does it seem like everyone has a horror story, and boy, that's true. That culture needs to end, and he's here to help end it. So Josh, let's start with you. What problem in the adult creator space made you feel like PIN had to exist?
Sure. I mean, where do we even start?
At the beginning.
Yeah. Being content creators ourselves, we're in the trenches of this industry and we see what's happening all around us all the time. We see the lack of legitimacy, essentially, that this industry has compared to any other working industry. It became most apparent for me, living up here in Canada, we were noticing the travel restrictions getting more strict, tougher to travel to the US to collaborate, that kind of stuff. There's a disconnect with STI testing between Canada and the US, and there's a ton of stuff going on. And I called Edger one night and I just said, look, I'm a little bit fed up with how I'm seeing things going. It's difficult to collaborate. It's difficult to travel. We need to do something here, and we need to rely a little bit less on, the US for everything, being up here in Canada. Let's try to figure out a way that we can unite people and collab better. That's kind of where it started, and it obviously snowballed quite a bit from that. But we polled about 100 content creators, both large and small, to find out what the biggest issues were that they were facing. And we attacked those top 4 or 5 problems head on, and that's where the association started. We united with our president Yuri, who's kind of like our business guru, for lack of a better term. And we just kind of put this together, and bit by bit over the last, year and a half almost now, I think. And here we are. So we've got everything lined up as best we can now. We're continually growing and adding new partners and looking for more problems to help sex workers and content creators solve.
So to be clear, is this primarily for Canada or is it for everybody?
It initially felt that way. It started that way because that's where we live and that's where, our connections are. But no, this is a US-based company and a Canadian-based company. Our partnerships are both in Canada and the US, and our aspirations are to go even larger than that. There's differences, obviously, with the way certain things work. We've landed a 3-tiered healthcare system here in Canada for sex workers. That's a little tougher to do in the US, but we're working on it still. And it's, quite a bit tougher, but we're there. There's a path to it. So it's just a matter of getting all that done. And that's, on the horizon.
That's great news. So, Edger, how did the idea grow from a concept into a real network with a public launch?
It's kind of an interesting story, actually, because Yuri and I, our president, we go back a long ways. We've been in business together and very close friends for a long time. Because of that, we saw what was going on in the industry and some of the struggles that were going on in the industry. And Yuri and I had actually talked separately about something like PIN for a while, but we were missing a big piece. We didn't have all the pieces that we needed to actually make it successful and to make it work. And then that day when I got a phone call from Josh, it was like, okay, there's the piece. We couldn't do it without him. And from there, it all came together. We started off with just polling, like Josh said, find out, what what creators' biggest struggles were. And then we endeavored to solve them.
Yeah, fantastic. So Josh, what are some of PIN's key partners right now? And how do those relationships strengthen the network?
Well, geez, and I definitely don't want to leave anybody out. We have so many partnerships here already, but the ones that come to mind initially are the ones that help solve the biggest issues we had. So I think stolen content, Edger Right was number 1. So we've aligned with literally the best DMCA content protection service in the world, Takedown Piracy. They're a partner of ours now. So members will have access to the service. Over time, when memberships grow a little bit more, there'll be a discount on those services, which is kind of the idea behind all of our partnerships, right? Is that we've aligned these services and businesses, and our members will get a discount on those businesses and services that they wouldn't be able to get going to them, off the street or whatever. So that was one of our key ones. Another big key one that I love to talk about is Taboo. Taboo is our Canada's like Exotica, our big sex expo. And they do, I don't know, 6 or 8 shows throughout the year. I can't even remember. Basically in all the major cities. And they've been a wonderful partner, super supportive of us. We've been super supportive of them. We do a lot for each other in this new realm. And we share this vision of creating this kind of united world for sex workers and content creators. No one likes to use the word union. It seems to be kind of like a bad word, but it is kind of similar to that in the sense that, we are trying to unite all these workers, all these businesses, and create that legitimacy. So those are 2 key partners. I think another one that I'd love to mention, just because it is so impactful, particularly for Canadians, is ProDX Health. ProDX Health they do the ship to your home test kits. So we were able to partner with them, come up with a system that allows us to get some MGen testing done here in Canada, which is very difficult, as any content creator or sex worker in Canada knows. So we've aligned with them. They've got a solution for that. So we can now have people tested before they travel to the US and collaborate, rather than traveling there, getting tested, waiting a day or 2 for results. They can show up with the results in hand. Or even just with their collaboration here in Canada, where they don't want to risk not having that testing. So it kind of frees up some of the larger creators in particular in Canada to be able to work together.
Okay. Edger, why was now the right time to launch PIN publicly?
Well, to be honest, I don't think that. I think it should have been done a long time ago. I don't think waiting was really an option. And when all of the pieces came together, and the research that we did and the partners that we spoke to, especially when we were interviewing people for our board, the feedback from just the individuals that we had approached, it made it very clear that this had to happen, and this had to happen right now. And the world is changing drastically by the day. And it seems like in a lot of ways, it's not getting more friendly to sex workers and to creators. So you just couldn't hold back. Like we just had to go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. By the way, I'll put this to both of you guys. You mentioned earlier traveling to do collabs into the United States and how that's an issue. Address that a little bit, because you certainly, when they ask you why you're coming to the U.S., you're certainly not telling them to do porn scenes.
No, it's not. Definitely not what I'm telling anybody. It's a little bit of an anxiety-inducing experience. I was just in Vegas in January for the AVNs, and I did preparation ahead of time as best I could in terms of how am I going to clear my devices of the evidence of what I may be going to do, that kind of thing.
Sad you have to do that.
It is, and it really took like weeks of preparation, to be honest, in terms of backing up my phone and like getting all this stuff sorted out.
Would you have to use a burner phone?
No, I initially was going to buy a second phone just to use for travel, but it turns out that doesn't really matter, because once they find out, who you are, whether it's their own facial recognition that they're using or whatever, you can be a content creator going through with a brand new phone. They're still going to know who you are. And if they find out why you're going there, or even suspect why you're going there, they'll just stop it from happening. I mean, there was a creator that was a GayVN nominated creator. I think he might have even won at this year's GayVNs, who was caught at the border, stopped at the border, I should say. And I think he got like a 10-year ban or something from traveling to the US. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing we're facing. And, that's initially really how the fire got lit under my ass about it. Was a colleague as well was stopped at the Calgary airport. She had a brand new phone. And same thing, pulled aside, interrogated for 2 hours. And they basically told her, like, you can't prove you don't have assets to come back to, like a house or car. So we're not going to let you in. That's kind of the excuse they used to not let her into the country. So, I mean, that's kind of how like some of my own experiences have kind of shaped the way we wanted to build the company, right? It was like these things that we were just seeing happening in real time.
But what do you do about that?
Well, that's a problem, Edger. I don't know, like, if that's something we're really even able to do anything about at the moment, other than maybe trying to come up with strategies to help people be as best prepared as they can be, right?
Well, I think it's another one of those things where the world is changing fast, and in this particular case, I think that the world is changing faster than the legislation, because the legislation around that is meant to keep people from working illegally in another country, in this case in the US. So, but when it's the creator world, it's not like someone is going across the border and taking a job. They're treated more along the lines of like an actor or a singer or an artist that is, going to do a concert and coming back. And I don't think the legislation has caught up to that yet. And it's one of those things that people are getting grouped into a category that doesn't really fit them anymore. And because of that, it's causing great hardship.
Okay. So, Josh, as BullBossJosh, how has your own experience shaped the way PIN is being built?
Yeah, so kind of like I mentioned, noticing my colleagues going through these issues, but other issues as well. Like I remember going into H&R Block to do my taxes for the first time. The first year I was a content creator, I did my own taxes. Surely I didn't do that right. And so the next year I went, okay, I'm just going to go to a professional here and do my best. Sat in like a cornered room away from other people and basically told this, 60-year-old woman what it is I'm doing and how I'm making money. And it was a really awkward conversation. And I don't believe that it should be. So one of the, this another thing that another partner we've aligned with is some great tax accountants who specialize in dealing with sex workers and Spicy Tax Accounting. I love to shout him out, Luca from Spicy Tax Accounting. He's here in Canada. He's been fantastic. He's really, really knowledgeable when it comes to, what you need to write off, what you can't write off. When it comes to the business side of what you're doing, which for a lot of content creators, we don't know a lot about. I didn't. There's endless experiences. I live in constant anxiety that my banking is going to get shut down. Once they find out that OnlyFans is like the primary source of incoming money into the bank, they shut you down here. So it's, everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately. Edger, what part of building PIN has felt the most personal to you? And by the way, we had a conversation off mic about the fact that you actually built it.
Yeah, on the software side, I did. Yeah, all of the software, the website and the apps and stuff, all the stuff that powers them was me. But the thing what really hits personally for me is, well, you touched on it earlier. I'm a photographer first. I've been a photographer for years. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about. I work primarily in fine arts nude my entire photography career. So I've worked with some, really big fashion models, really big influencers, and a bunch of, fresh models starting off. And I've worked with a very broad spectrum of people. I've been published in 16 magazines internationally. And in all of that experience, there was one thing that stood out more than anything else. And even thinking about it today still makes my stomach turn. I mean, you hear that every industry has a horror story, right? Like you always hear them. But when it comes to the modeling space, and it's not only the modeling space, but it's not a horror story or a couple horror stories. Like I've worked with hundreds of people, and I can tell you that there was one person that I worked with that did not have a horror story. 3 weeks later, he had a horror story. So it's one of those unfortunate places, and I could ramble on about this forever, but it's one of those situations where the person holding the camera has the power, and you see it on TV all the time. Do this or else, you're not going to get this, and that is actually what happens.
Oh, it's been going on forever in modeling. Oh, sure,
yeah, it's
absolutely,
disgusting.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
You take the adult industry into that. And next thing you know, because it's, you're in a much more vulnerable position when all of your clothes are off. So
people feel like they deserve access to you.
Yeah, which is so wrong.
That's what would hit home really for me when it comes to PIN is my goal is to stamp that out.
Sure, absolutely, as it should be. Josh, what's been the biggest lesson you've learned so far as a co-founder?
Geez, a lesson? Whether or not it's a lesson, I don't know. But learning from Edger and Yuri about truly the ins and outs of not only running your own business, but starting a new business and an association. Mind-blowing amount of information that I've taken in the last year and a half. I mean, these guys are Like Edger and Yuri really are very talented fellas. And, Edger in particular is a man of many hats, as you've already heard, but he's also a very smart businessman. So I do my best to kind of take in what I can from the two of them, because my job isn't really so much on the business side of this association. It's more on the vision of the association and the direction and helping make those connections and that kind of thing. So, I mean, if you call it a lesson, sure, but it is kind of a lesson in business and how to conduct myself in this space, which is totally new for me. So yeah, I mean, I'm constantly learning.
Okay. So this is for both of you. And Josh, you can pick up from here. And then Edger, how do you balance being a creator yourself while also building infrastructure for other creators?
Less sleep, more caffeine. I think is as real of an answer as I can give you. There aren't enough hours in a day. I don't know that I do balance it, if I'm being honest. I feel like I must be at some point doing enough to continue both, but it's a lot. Being a content creator is a full-time job, as any content creator knows and will tell you. We're also people of many hats. We've got to be creative. We've got to be photographers, editors, marketers, everything. So a lot comes along with that on a day-to-day basis when you're talking about promoting yourself online and trying to sell your product. And then on top of it, we have an entire association of businesses and members that rely on us to be out there and active and growing. So it's a lot. It's just a matter of prioritizing, leaning on each other, a lot of communication between all parties, and just, our shared vision, just continuing to push towards it no matter what. So, I mean, starting an association like this is an uphill battle right from the start. We knew that going in. It's always going to be an uphill battle, particularly when we're talking about legislation and two different countries' laws. We just keep pushing forward.
Have you guys been in contact at all with the Free Speech Coalition yet?
We have talked. Yeah, we have talked with Mike for sure. We had a great conversation with him. He is awesome. Yeah, we're trying to find different ways that we can kind of work together. And we have a great relationship with them right now.
That's awesome. So Edger, same question.
Yeah, I'll just spin off a little bit on what Josh said. I mean, it's as far as balance, I don't really think that word applies in our world. It's long days, but like they say, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And that's really what it is for me. I mean, I've worked in a lot of industries in my life, very public ones in some cases. I've never found an industry that I've enjoyed working in as much as this one. And it's not for the obvious reasons. Everybody in this industry is so incredibly supportive and friendly and outgoing. It's just, I've never seen anything like that before. And when your entire world is surrounded by people like that, it doesn't seem like it's work. So it really helps to downplay how many hours you're actually putting into it when you start to count.
Sure. So Edger, what was the biggest goal behind launching the PIN app?
To alleviate as many of the problems that we could as possible. Like if you go look at our website, we have the original poll that we founded our pillars based off of is right on the homepage. And the goal was to hammer out as many of those, and some of them are very big and ongoing jobs as possible. And some of the top was, meeting other creators. Like it's when you're in the studio world, right? The studio puts together the performers, puts together the actors, you do your job, you go home. In the creator side, it's not like that. We have to do our own outreach. We have to build these relationships and trust in a lot of cases, right? Because it's, you're meeting someone for the first time in a lot of cases. There's a lot of things you need to be careful and to be safe. So that's really where it all came together we started with the apps so that creators could sign up. They could meet each other. We would act as like the trusted verification hub, I guess you could say, where, we check everything and everybody that comes through. So you get a little bit more, safety, a little more comfortable, so that you can actually meet other people and collab easier.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I know there's a lot of efforts to promote collabs now, so that's something you guys are definitely doing then, huh?
Yeah, that's one of the big focuses of the app, like the mobile apps that we just launched. You can search for creators based on like the obvious things that you could search for everybody on, but you can also search specifically based on content type, like what types of content do you make and all that kind of stuff, and your list where you're traveling so that you can, book with people in advance. Because that's another part of the thing, right? As a creator, when we travel around, we try and get as many collabs in as we can in wherever we're traveling. But you don't always know, or rarely, I guess, do you know all the creators that are there. So this also kind of opens the door for a little more community in that way as well.
Well, not only that, but finding the creators that are safe and trusted. Because that's the standout difference, right? Between that, like what we're doing with the website and the app, rather than just a collaboration app where anyone can be on it. Because that isn't the case with Pearl Industry Network, right? You have to go through verification. You have to be a trusted entity in this space in order to collaborate with others. So that's a key difference.
I know some of them are doing verifications, some of the people that I've talked to. So there is that. But hey, another thing that came to mind, you talk about creators meeting on the app, on the website. What about some kind of a physical meeting? Are you guys planning any kind of an event for your platform, for your association?
Not really, like not a big event. But so what we do now is, because Taboo is such a fantastic partner, that's kind of our ability to be out and showcase what we're doing. So we always have a phenomenal booth at the events that we can talk to creators and regular people who may know creators, and sex workers in general. We can talk to them face to face and kind of give them the rundown of what it is we do. They can visually see it on. We have TV screens at our booth and a lot of great pop-up ads and that kind of stuff. So just a matter of getting out there. We're going to be doing the same in the States, 2027 in particular. We want to have a pretty heavy focus on some of the larger conventions in the US and making our presence known a little bit more there.
Okay. So, Josh, what does the app let creators do that they couldn't do as easily before?
Well, I mean, I think the key thing about having the app is just the easy access to everything in the association, right? So traditionally, creators, they've got to go and find everything on their own. Before us, you would use social media, word of mouth, just scattered resources to, network and find collaborations and just access to professional services, right? So with the app, they've got this dedicated network where they can connect with others, access, healthcare, accounting, all the legal support, DMCA protection, everything all under one roof is kind of the idea. And it can't be overstated, I should say, that this is free for members. This is a 100% free service you can sign up for. It won't ever cost you a thing. Some of the services, may cost money over time, depending on what it is. Like healthcare is obviously not free, but it's an opportunity to access these resources where you can't otherwise.
Interesting. So there's no charge to join PEN?
Zero, and there never will be.
Okay. Do you have any kind of a revenue model?
Yeah, so it was one of the things that we talked about right in the very beginning is we've seen and we've talked to a lot of people who have seen and tried what we're doing done before. The only way that this works is to make it so easily accessible that it becomes a no-brainer. And at the end of the day, we're about creating a network and bringing people together. So our revenue model is more on the other side. Like we have the partners, they pay to show other businesses in front of the creators. Creators are always free. Now, the asterisk on that is like Josh said, there might be things down the road that you can opt into that won't be free because there could be a cost associated. But those, again, are opt-ins, and membership itself will always be free.
Okay. Another thing that comes to mind, we've talked earlier in the interview about abuses. Is there some kind of a reporting system? So if someone who's in the association is acting badly, that it can come to light?
Yes, that is a very large question. I'll try my best to answer it. There is, of course, ways to report it. Now, how we handle it is on a case-by-case basis, because at the end of the day, we can't be judge, jury, and executioner. Now, obviously, if there is anything illegal that is happening or anything regarding safety, we absolutely comply with law enforcement and will enforce anything related to safety apart from that, it's a case by case basis, really, because one of the conversations we had with the board on how we would handle this, and if we were going to have like a blacklist, for example, and we opted against the blacklist because the problem with the blacklist, from our perspective, is we are never going to know what actually occurred in the case of a report of something because we weren't there. And for us to act as the judge, jury, and executioner is not a fair approach on either side. Because if we go ahead and add someone to a blacklist, potentially that's a career-ending move for that person.
Well, yeah, and it also could get legal. And I'm sure you've got strong terms and conditions, but you never really know what happened.
And that is the crux of it, is because we don't, if it happens in our platform, then obviously we can see it and we will action based on that. But in the case of like something that happens outside of the platform where we can't actually know what went on, it becomes a very difficult thing to figure out. So it's something that we handle on a case by case basis.
Okay, fair enough. Edger, what was the thought process behind making the app part of the broader PIN ecosystem?
Well, like Josh said, I think it's about access to information. And Josh's example, and I use this frequently when I'm talking to people actually about the H&R Block and the middle-aged lady doing income tax for sex workers. It shouldn't be awkward, but it is. That's the unfortunate fact of where we are. So the app is the centralized hub where we can bring everything together and make it easily accessible, like tax and legal help, especially in some of these older industries that are pretty stuffy. Trying to find a lawyer that you can feel comfortable talking to, is also a bit of a challenge.
Well, but there's some great adult industry attorneys, which I'm sure you've partnered with those as well, right?
So that's where the app kind of plays in. It's the hub that lets creators and industry interact with each other and find each other easily. And because you're part of the network, you have been vetted on both sides. We've gone through the referrals and checks and stuff on the industry side as well. So it's a way to access all the stuff that you need to grow your business.
Okay. Josh, how important was it that the app feels simple, trustworthy, and creator first from day one?
Well, we always wanted it to feel simple, right? Because that's just kind of the world we live in now. It's like if you put in too many roadblocks, people aren't going to want to continue, right? So it's like creators have spent so many years already navigating this industry on their own. So we wanted this app to be built with that in mind, right? So it shouldn't be complicated to connect with other creators or find services that can benefit you as a sex worker or a content creator. If you want to protect your content and you also want to get some healthcare and you also have some tax questions, you shouldn't have to spend days trying to sort out those different issues. It can all be done under our umbrella. So at the end of the day, like the app is just a tool, right? But the trust in the community behind what it is what makes it valuable. And so we needed to have that easy.
And to go off of that, that is like the core of who we are. I mean, even if you look at the way that we structured our board, it's codified into our bylaws. It cannot be changed. But 60% of our board has to be A-list creators. 40% has to be industry. And that was put there so that the association is always creator-led. It's always creator-focused. Not in a lot of cases gets taken over by big business and led in a direction that is more conducive to industry as opposed to the people that it's actually meant to serve. So this goes to our core.
That's awesome. So Edger, what is TrustLink and why was it so important to build it into the app?
TrustLink is the I guess you spin-off, I guess you could call it. It's a side brand of pins that was I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, where it's the rubber stamp. It's the third party verification platform that is trusted and safe. We have a few different pieces as part of it that we have the verification side for creators, which they can choose. Well, this is a very complicated explanation, so I'm going to try and make it short. But in the world of technology, you're constantly balancing, how do I show people enough to show that I'm a real person without exposing myself and, like identity theft and such. So we made TrustLink because a big part of our verification process is obviously age and identity verification, email, phone verification. We have some stuff coming down the pipe to add on to that, but these are all just basic things that every creator needs to have in order to be in the association. So we thought, why wouldn't we just take that part, package it up, and let the entire creator sphere use it even without having to be a member to use it? Because when you show people your TrustLink profile, you can see that we have verified their name, their address, email address, whatever.
So creators can use it to verify each other.
Yeah, and they can choose what is shown and what is not shown as well. So if they want to show their real name, they can. If they don't have to.
That's fantastic. So how's it different from other verification tools people might know?
Well, when I did some research looking around before we did it, I didn't see anything that was really that close to TrustLink. But one of the biggest pieces is that it's free. Because again, if you have a verification platform and that is your core business, you don't have a choice but to charge for it. Otherwise, you're not going to have a business. One of the strengths that we have is that we can offer that service as a side effect of having the association, and we can do it at no charge. So our thought process and our goal there is that it's just, it becomes a no-brainer. If you have a TrustLink code, if you don't, why don't you? It's free, right? So it can start to have those conversations and weed out some of those bad apples.
Yeah. So specifically, how does it help creators protect themselves while also building better relationships?
Well, most, and not all, but most bad actors are, when someone knows who they actually are, they're a lot less likely to do something. And that's a big piece of it, right? It's not super comfortable to go and start showing all of your personal information to every creator that you meet for the same reasons as, identity theft and who knows what's going to happen. But with everybody who has a TrustLink profile, we have age and identity verified that person. So if there is ever an issue or a complaint, it's really easy to, hand that to law enforcement and let them go from there. And when everybody knows that their true identity isn't being hidden from the world, they're a lot less likely to do, sketchy stuff.
That's a good point, because let's face it, nobody uses their real name. So really, nobody knows anyone's real identity, do they?
No, and I did a speech, like a discussion, about safety. Seminar, that's the word I was looking for, about safety. And it was tailored in and around meeting people on apps. And I could tell you statistics that would make your toes curl. There's some really terrifying stuff out there. A lot of it happens around meeting people online, and it all is centered around you not really knowing who you're talking to on the other end of that app. And that is not the case with TrustLink. You know who you're talking to.
Well, this sounds like something you guys could later package and sell to some of the major dating companies.
Yeah, it's a good idea, because it doesn't matter to me where it goes. It's important that we stamp this kind of behavior out as frequently and as possible everywhere.
Yeah, and it's a problem all over the internet that people are pretending to be somebody else. I just had an experience with my brokering where we caught a scammer, and just this morning. And yeah, if something like that was available just in general, wow.
Yeah, well, knowing that you are known, I guess, makes a big difference. Here's a really fun stat. 30% of all assaults that happen from meeting people off of a dating app are substantially more violent than assaults not stemming from an app. And they almost always involve choking.
No, I believe it. There's a lot of creeps out there, and the internet's made it easy for them, unfortunately. And some of it bleeds over to our industry, unfortunately. So they're definitely out there. Josh, final question. What misconceptions do people have about verification in this space?
Well, I think a lot of people think that it's just you checking a box or getting a badge next to your name and that anybody can access it. And it's really not the case, especially with ours and with TrustLink. It's really about building, like a trustworthy, safe place that people are who they actually say they are. And so people generally assume that it's also like overly invasive or complicated, but we built it in a way that's more straightforward, private, like it's privacy conscious. So we don't collect anything that's unnecessary just to be, legally compliant. And, Edger can speak to this a little bit better than I can, but the, what do you call it? Military grade security that we have on the site and with TrustLink is really second to none. And we take that, very, 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 very seriously. Creators go through like a relatively respectful process so that people know they're real. It doesn't expose anything unnecessary. It helps cut out all that impersonation. Content creators are facing that all the time. People just stealing their content, using it, impersonating them, trying to scam others. It's endless out there. So it's not just verification. We're paired with vetted partners and clear standards across the platform. So the whole ecosystem feels controlled and reliable.
Well, and let's face it, in this day and age, verification is kind of a dirty word with all the age verification being targeted at our industry.
Well, and that's a really good point. And that's one of the stances that we took when we developed TrustLink to begin with was, like Josh said, there's a lot of, me being in tech for a long time, I see the dark side of a lot of these places, and I know the capabilities of a lot of these things that people spin as very, very helpful. But in order to make those things helpful, I know what can happen in the background too. And when it came to, TrustLink and verification, right from the get-go, we made it very clear that we do not keep anything outside of what is absolutely necessary to maintain compliance. So even when it comes to agent identity verification, we don't store any of their personal information in our infrastructure at all, because it's one of those things too. It's just when someone knows that you're sitting on a pile of personal data, it becomes very tempting to try and take. So for many reasons, we don't keep it.
That's fantastic, as it should be. Well, Josh, Edger, I'd like to thank you guys for being with us today on Adult Side Broker Talk, and I hope we'll get a chance to do it again soon.
I really appreciate you having us back, Bruce. I love being on your show, and I hope to do it again.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. It was a great time. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
My broker tip today is part 6 of how to buy a site. Last week we talked about the sales agreement. So now both you and the seller have signed the agreement. What comes next? There needs to be an escrow set up where you send the money, whether it be a one-time payment or a deposit if you're going to be making payments. The seller, for their part, puts the assets of the sale into escrow, namely the domains being sold and any other tangible assets. Your attorney can give you more information on that. We recommend escrow domains for escrows. They're a firm out of Washington, D.C., and no, they're not paying me to say this. I just use them, trust them, and am delighted by the work they've done for us. Either an escrow agreement will be drawn up by them in the case of a custom escrow, or if it's a simple one, it can be done right on their website. Then you, the buyer, the seller, and the broker will be contacted by escrow domains with further instructions, such as wiring information. The escrow is opened, and either the deal closes within a matter of days or an inspection period is allowed. It all depends on what the agreement calls for. Whether you need an inspection period really depends on whether there's still some information you need to find out prior to the deal closing. Your broker and your attorney can advise you more on this, and it's on a case-by-case basis. Then the money is transferred, as are the domains, and the deal is closed. Now, in many cases, in fact, most of the time, the seller either stays on board for a period of time to help with the transition, or is at least available on an on-call basis to answer questions. This is something most buyers should ask for. But at this point, you pretty much own the website. What do you do now? We'll talk about that subject more next week. And next week, we'll be speaking with Johannes Cantor of Fasto. And that's it for this week's Adult Side Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guests, BullBossJosh and Edger9000 of Pearl Industry Network. Talk to you again next week on Adult Side Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.